Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 22nd chapter, entitled The Marriage of Kardama Muni and Devahuti. Text number 12. Udyatasya hi kamasya prativado na shasyate api nirmukta sangasya kamaraktasya kim punaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. To deny an offering that has come of itself is not commendable, even for one absolutely free from all attachment, much less one addicted to sensual pleasure. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In material life, everyone is desirous of sense gratification. Therefore, a person who gets an object of sense gratification without endeavor should not refuse to accept it. Kardama Muni was not meant for sense gratification, yet he aspired to marry and prayed to the Lord for a suitable wife. This was known to Swayambhuva Manu. He indirectly convinced Kardama Muni, "You desire a suitable wife like my daughter, and she is now present before you. You should not reject the fulfillment of your prayer. You should accept my daughter." Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport.
So, apparently you see a very confusing injunction here in Srimad Bhagavatam. What does it say? To deny an offering that has come of itself is not commendable, even for one absolutely free from all attachment, less one addicted to sensual pleasure. And again, in purport also. In material life, everyone is desirous of sense gratification. Therefore, a person who gets an object of sense gratification without endeavor should not refuse to accept it. So, how do we understand this verse? How do we reconcile this with the larger instruction which is there to keep away from sense gratification? Sense gratification means it is not Krishna conscious life. Seeking sense gratification is not Krishna conscious. First one is already satisfied here also. It is not about seeking sense gratification. You are talking about if it appears, if it comes without effort to you, then whether you should accept or not. If you read the purport, the first line of the purport says, in material life, everyone is desirous of sense gratification. So this is next line is a guidance for those who are in material life. In material life, everyone is desirous of sense gratification. Next line says, therefore, for whom? Those who are in material life. Therefore, a person, if he gets an object of sense gratification without endeavor, should not refuse to accept it. This is not the injunction for those who have taken the path of Vairagya. Now we have taken the path of Vairagya, the path of detaching ourselves from everything in this material world. So this injunction is for ordinary people who have not taken the path of Vairagya, who are still in the path of pravritti marga as against the nivritti marga. This injunction. Now, of course, Kardama Muni is a great saint, it's a great Brahmana, a great spiritualist. And as far as he is concerned, it so happened that he had a desire. And because he had a desire, the Lord was satisfying him. These are all exemptions. Every great spiritualist, sometimes there will be some residual, some desire. The Lord will directly arrange for that. That cannot become a rule or the norm. We cannot imitate Kardama Muni, such a great spiritualist. He desired to marry somebody who is very beautiful, very competent, everything, all nice companion, regularly like anybody else in the material world desires. So if he can desire, why I cannot desire? So we have been, our path is very clear. The path of Bhakti Yoga, Vairagya Vidya, Nija Bhakti Yoga. So this is the path that we have taken. So in our path, injunction for us is to minimize sense gratification. Because as long as this body is there, body, mind is there, the urge for sense gratification is always there. Just like as long as this body is there, hunger and thirst cannot be stopped. Similarly, as long as the body is there, the urge for sense pleasures will always rise up. Now it is a question of managing those urges that rise up. The forces of the mind and the body and the senses that rise up. How we manage those things, we are given guidelines by Krishna and Bhagavad Gita, by our Acharya, by the Purva Acharyas. How you conduct your life in a manner in which you handle these urges. You handle these natural, bodily, mental urges. We cannot deny that these urges are not there. Nobody can deny. We have taken this body in this material world for enjoying. So therefore the Lord has mercifully given this body for, just like to every karmi He gives us a body according to our karma. This body has got a certain potential of sukha and dukkha, which is unveiled. It's a function of time. Tomorrow on sukha dukkha, day after tomorrow on sukha dukkha, next year, 100 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. It's a function of kala, sukha dukkha. But Prabhupada says, and the Shastra says, that sukha dukkha, material sukha dukkha for the body and the mind, is fixed for everybody once one takes birth. It is fixed. Sukha and dukkha is an experience. So sukha dukkha is fixed. Not that this particular sukha is fixed, this particular dukkha is fixed. Not that the full chart of where all you will get sukha, where all you will get dukkha is fixed. That is not what it means. Then you have no choice, no. Your sukha dukkha is fixed. Means, suppose there is a currency. Currency is used to buy something, no? Suppose there is a currency called sukha currency. And there is another currency called dukkha currency. When you are born, you are given a purse with sukha currency and dukkha currency. That will not change. Suppose you live 60 years. Within that 60 years, how you want to spend that sukha currency that you have, dukkha currency that you have. And not only, it is not that, you got a fat purse. Anytime you can draw out. No. Your sukha currency has got a date. For this date, this much sukha currency, this much dukkha currency. So there are periods. If you see your astrological chart, you can find out that. That is, astrology is a Vedic science. It says according to your thing, how Kala, it shows a pattern of Kala, your astrology. Your Sukha Dukkha, how it unfolds. There's a cosmic system by which, just like you have this Sade Sat Shani, is famous in India. The guy will get squeezed in his, that means all his most of his dukkha currency, he has to spend it that time. He is forced to buy dukkha during that time. So, sukha dukkha does not mean the particular sukha dukkha is destined. It means that currency, that pleasure experience. This is very important knowledge, because for management of pleasure, because as we discuss now, we as devotees, we are required to manage our mind and bodily urges. We are expected to manage, unlike the karmis. Karmis' principle is to maximize pleasure. Ours is, no, we are not seeking anymore. Whatever is there, I have to manage. I don't desire anything new. And that, of course, is to be understood. Before we discuss all these details, first we have to understand. As a devotee, I have decided I will not create fresh desires. Whether I create fresh desires or not, old desires keep coming up. So I have to manage these old desires, old urges, I have to manage. To manage that, you need to understand this. You are not destined like that every particular enjoyment. For instance, let us say you have got destiny of so much of dukkha in your life, in your taken birth. In the particular body, that particular body has a certain dukkha. There is one very intelligent mechanism given by the Lord, especially for human beings. What is that? You take up austerity and burn away those dukkhas. If you want, you can voluntarily buy the dukkhas. If you don't voluntarily buy dukkhas, nature will come and deliver dukkha to you in different ways. Karma. So this is the role of, such an important role of doing austerities. It assists in one in spiritual life. It helps one in spiritual life like anything. Because ultimately that currency you have to spend before you die. That is the fact. That doesn't change. That doesn't change. What the devotee does is what? He uses that currency for Krishna's service. The duality of the material world is felt in terms of heat and cold, misery and happiness. A Krishna conscious person is above duality because it does not hesitate to act in any way for the satisfaction of Krishna. Just see. When you take trouble to serve Prabhupada and Krishna, bodily, mental struggle you take against your wish. Tapasya means against your default mode. Now your present wish is to serve Prabhupada and Krishna. But there is a default mode, lazy fellow, thing, done all this kind of thing, don't want to do, live happily, all this kind of philosophy, concocted, karmi philosophy will be there. If the devotee is having has determined to work hard for Prabhupada, take trouble for Prabhupada, sweat for Prabhupada, take tension for Prabhupada, take anxiety for Prabhupada, please understand that you are burning your dukkha currency. If you don't take trouble for Prabhupada, if you don't take tension for Prabhupada, if you don't take anxiety for Prabhupada, dukkha will come to you some other way, which is not service of Krishna. It may even stop service of Krishna. Right? If you become very sick, then you will not be able to even do service, isn't it? And now I am talking about how devotees manage pleasure and pain quota, which is there as per law of karma. Management of pleasure and pain. So secret number 1 is take authorized austerities. One of the things that disturb one's most in life for everybody is what? When problems come. Isn't it? Nobody likes problems. So better we take voluntarily problems. In the material world, to preach Krishna consciousness is very problematic. To raise funds is very problematic. To convince somebody is very problematic. You need patience, tolerance, be behind him, be behind him, be behind him. You have to put chesta to make one devotee, right? Or you take up a project, you have to be behind it. Every problems that the karmis have in building a project, the devotee will also have to face. So all these things when we do for Krishna, it has got very high value to make our devotional life peaceful. Therefore austerity should be taken. That's why many times in different classes I have told, in Krishna consciousness after you have come, if you don't struggle for your for service, if you don't struggle to control your senses, then you will be made to struggle for material existence. That struggle will not be taken away. When you struggle for material existence, it is vyartha, it is useless. It doesn't help you in any way, it's all temporary. When you struggle for Krishna consciousness, it is giving you eternal benefit. So suppose you say anyway you have to struggle. If you struggle here, you will get something for this life. If you struggle here, you will get something for your eternal for your soul. Which will you choose? This is intelligent management. Therefore, we should struggle. Body and mind should have austerity every day. Something you don't like, you will have to do every day. Sadhana, something your default system does not want. Maybe something got trained and still there is some small percentage it doesn't want. Take that percentage and hit it. Go, do it. Do it. Maybe you don't want to be in one shot and finish your 16 rounds. After a few rounds, your mind will say something else. No, take austerity, do it, finish it. There are hundreds of ways in which in our personal life, in devotees' personal life, in Krishna consciousness movement that Prabhupada has given, there are hundreds of ways of picking up austerities, bona fide austerity. We are not generalizing the principle of austerity. Okay, I'll do one thing today. I will, after morning program, suddenly you'll see one brahmachari in the middle of the brahmachari ashram standing on one leg. Prabhu, today I have decided 10 hours I'm going to stand like this. Why? No, tapasya. So that I can burn off my, papa bijas. No, we are talking about tapasyas which will give us eternal benefit. Oh, I have to do tapasya, Prabhu. You told me no. Mondays I will fast and Fridays I will fast. No. These are all good for karmis. Yes, it helps them. Encourage them. Every kind of austerity. Austerity for pleasing Shiva, austerity for pleasing Ganesha. Monday for Shiva I'll fast. Thursday I'll fast for Vishnu. All this they have. Let them do. But we want to do those austerities which are pleasing to Vishnu, to the Lord. So we have to be very careful in simply, that is another extreme. Some devotees go into this whole austerity mood and all this kind of things. So there are bona fide austerities. And within even those bona fide austerities, Srila Prabhupada has given us, even within these bona fide austerities, again a set of austerities. Why he has given a set of austerities? Just suppose somebody says, oh, I want to go to Radhakunda and chant every day 64 rounds. See, how can you say no, it is not a good austerity? Now you have to again see what our bona fide, our spiritual master has told us. Stand 16 rounds nicely. Probably another 10 lives. Then one day you'll go to Radhakunda. There is a stage for everything. Bhaktivedanta Society, Thakur used to blast any disciple if he goes to Radhakunda and sits. He said, you are not qualified even to dip in Radhakunda. Even Prabhupada, I think only once or something he went dip, but afterwards he stopped. Because all the foreign disciples started swimming and everything in Radhakunda. So Prabhupada stopped that. That is why as a principle we are not encouraging everybody, go to. Now ISKCON has become big, lot of congregation, it's become a fad. Go, Radhakunda, dip, Radhakunda. It's a very sanctified place, Radhakunda is, or, you can't experience Radhakunda unless you are a very elevated devotee. It is not that gross eyes what you see, that kunda. You can make a lot of offenses. Unless you are free from, lust, you cannot sit for bhajan like that. Nirantara bhajan, continuing to chant 64 rounds, or like Haridas Thakur. So austerity also is given to us by Srila Prabhupada. And that austerity, for instance, when you chant your 16 rounds nicely, hearing without offenses, then you get qualified to chant your 17th round. Otherwise, put all your efforts in chanting 16 rounds nicely. Austerity, which is plenty of austerity, whole life austerity is there. In fact, the greatest tapasya that one can do in this age is to hear the holy name of the Lord. See, tapasya can be understood by two means. One is how difficult it is. Another is what is the result of it. So don't mistake, always tapasya means pain. It's not so. There are authorized tapasyas. Each tapasya has a pain and a result. If you take chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the hearing of Hare Krishna Mahamantra definitely is not so difficult as standing on one leg for 10 hours. Right? Much easier. But the result of that one hearing of Hare Krishna cannot be compared to 100 years of standing on one leg. So that's what you have to understand. Don't think that tapasya only means, tapasya means authorized tapasas. Authorized tapasas, authorized austerity, because there is definitely some tapas is there in hearing, because mind goes here and there. But it is not, it is easier than many other tapasyas. But the value of this tapasya is something which is what is revealed in the scriptures. Discounted tapasya for Kali Yuga. Just simply you hear, then you get the results of so many Ashwamedha Yajna. Shastra says. Even then you cannot equal to this tapasya of hearing this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So, we have to be very careful in understanding purport of Prabhupada, understanding these verses. That is why an Acharya's guidance is required. Otherwise we will misunderstand. Otherwise from Bhagavatam, whatever you want you can get. All kinds of stories are there. Whatever you want to justify, you will get it. Sometimes some devotees also argue. No, actually Bhagavatam is for Grahasthas. And the Paramahamsas say, no, Bhagavatam is a Paramahamsa Shastra. It is for Paramahamsas. The fact is that for those who want to practice Vaishnavism, it is available for everybody, irrespective of any ashrama. Bhagavatam caters to Grahastha, Bhagavatam caters to Paramahamsas also. So such a all-encompassing literature is Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, we need guidance, how it is applicable to each. And that is how I explain now. For a devotee, you have dedicated your life to Krishna consciousness, to preach Krishna consciousness. That is your focus now. Now, how do we understand this verse? You are not in material life. So how do we understand this verse? We have to understand this in context with everything else that Prabhupada has told about sense gratification. Not just take this one thing about sense gratification. Now, that is one thing about taking austerities, taking pressure, taking tension to work for Srila Prabhupada, to produce results for Srila Prabhupada, etc. That is one way I said it will automatically burn out the currency of dukkha. What about sukha? That also is there in the purse every day. It is delivered in the plate, sukha and dukkha every day. Just like dukkha comes without asking, sukha also comes without asking. Now again, don't think that sukha means that specific sukha. Then you have no free will, no. Suppose a specific sukha is pushed upon you, then you have no free will at all. So there is a sukha. Now what do you want to do with this sukha? This is another very important clue. How to manage our pleasure and pain. Now, pain management I have told. Pleasure management I will tell. How pleasure management. You can decide what to take pleasure in. You have got a free will. Just like you have got pleasure currency. Either you can buy, tomatoes or orange or apple or what you want to buy, you can buy. Currency is fixed and you have to spend it by evening. It's a force on the body. It's a vega in the body. Pleasure vega is coming in the body, in the mind. Pleasure vega is coming. You have to spend it. And I told you to spend it, you can decide what to take pleasure in. What is it? You have got the freedom to decide what to take pleasure in. But pleasure you have to take every day. What to take pleasure in? It's a very big freedom. It's a very big knowledge item. That you have got a freedom to choose what to take this pleasure in. So what should we take pleasure in? Chanting, devotion service, dancing, taking prasadam, Take pleasure in every work that you do for Prabhupada and Krishna. Every day your pleasure management of your body-mind system is taken care of. But you have to take pleasure. That is very important. All of you can research, go into Prabhupada folio and see, taking pleasure. About 300 times Prabhupada has written. Taking pleasure, that means it's your free will. You should take pleasure in Brahmanical life. You should take pleasure in sadhana. You should take pleasure in your work. See, somebody is, let us say, the person is thinking, oh, this is very, I had to work. Then he is not, that day's all pleasure currency is piling up. By evening, by night, he is frustrated. Because his pleasure currency is not burnt. And finally, that pleasure currency will come out of some gross sense enjoyment. Very important. Somewhere it has to go. Sensual pleasure, it will come out as. Those who enjoy their service, whatever it may be, even if it is difficult work, take pleasure. Do you know the secret that you can take pleasure in things which are painful also? These are all big tricks of the mind. You can take pleasure in a painful thing. Painful for the body, painful for the mind, but pleasure for the soul. So you can take pleasure. Just like Tapasya also you can take pleasure. So, taking pleasure in chanting, taking pleasure in everything that you do, taking pleasure in the service, because nearly 7-8 hours you are spending in service. So the mood in which you do service is very important for you to control your senses. You have to learn how to enjoy your service. Enjoy means not that. Enjoy means not enjoy the content of the service. Enjoy doing service. You have to take pleasure in doing service to Krishna. I like it. This way, day to day, we can manage the pleasure and pain quota. At the same time, we don't get bound by karma. In the same time, if we are freed from sinful expressions of pain and pleasure. There are bona fide expressions of pain and pleasure. Taking prasadam is bona fide pleasure, expression of pleasure. Right? Eating nonsense, it is not a bona fide pleasure. So there are bona fide expressions of pleasure and pain in our Krishna consciousness life that Prabhupada has given us. And you take pleasure and do it. Take pleasure in honoring prasadam. Take pleasure in kirtan. Somebody may say, no, take pleasure is all artificial. How can I take pleasure? It should become pleasurable. Anything before it becomes pleasurable, you have to take pleasure. This is another rule. Because pleasure is a combination of something from outside and your decision to enjoy. Your pleasure potency. Each of us have a tiny pleasure potency. We are sample of God. If you don't decide to take pleasure, even outside thing, if it is pleasurable also, you will not feel pleasure. Both have to mix together. Hydrogen is gas, oxygen is gas. Mix hydrogen and oxygen, you get something which is water, liquid. The property of water is neither of hydrogen or oxygen. Yes? In the same way, if you take my contribution of giving pleasure potency is hydrogen, sense object is oxygen. Only when they mix together, you get what is sense gratification. Sense gratification is a combination of sense enjoyer and sense object. Is it not? So therefore, you have trained yourself, you have conditioned yourself to enjoy something. It simply means that you have already taught your mind to take pleasure in it. That is why now you are not consciously taking pleasure, but you have trained your mind to take pleasure in it. It is already set inside. If you have not taken pleasure in it, you will not find, you will not, you have to teach yourself fresh how to enjoy. Every enjoyment is not automatic. Every enjoyment that we have with the sense object, it is all learnt. From childhood, slowly it is learnt. This is pleasurable. Okay, I will take pleasure in it. You see such a big role, this taking pleasure, free will to take pleasure. In the actual final pleasure experience, your taking pleasure is such an important factor. So we have to take pleasure in bona fide expressions of pleasure, which are many in Krishna consciousness movement. Authorized for us as a brahmachari, as a grihastha, whatever, it is plenty. So this way, if we manage our expressions of pleasure and pain, quota, which is in our destiny, as long as we have this body, that force is there. So as long as, if we can manage that in this, using these two formulas, then our mind will be peaceful. Mind cannot become sober when there is pain and pleasure. These two things pull the mind apart. These dualities. You cannot be a sober person. You cannot be a dhira. Dhira means sober. Adhira means pleasure pulls, pain pulls. Your consciousness. Pleasure and pain may be there, but your consciousness is pulled up and down. So a dhira is one whose consciousness is not pulled up and down. So that your consciousness is not pulled up and down, you have to minimize the pull of pleasure and pain by management of your pleasure and pain quota, so that the mind is peaceful and it can execute positive devotional service. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. When we do our chanting very nicely by taking lot of tapasya, this pleasure and dukkha, whatever we have, get managed throughout the day mystically or in a very automatic way?
Yes, it managed, because two things you are already doing. Taking pleasure in chanting, and while taking pleasure in chanting, while you are taking pleasure in chanting, you are doing austerity with your mind and body, which doesn't take pleasure. It wants freedom. You tell sit in one place and chant, it doesn't want. Mind and body is by default goes in another direction. So you learn how to take pleasure with your soul, and you are taking pain with your body and mind. Lot of your quota is burnt out. Whole day you can remain a dhira. See, we have, unless purity comes, full purity comes, we cannot be a dhira always. That is a pure devotee situation. But if we do what a pure devotee has told, on a day-to-day basis we can be a dhira. Today you can be a dhira if you have done this chanting nicely. Tomorrow if you don't do chanting, you will be adhira. Whereas a pure devotee who is fixed in Krishna consciousness is always dhira. Another question.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Constitutionally, I was taking pleasure in serving Krishna in Vaikuntha world.
Yeah.
But how is it that gradually this material energy captured me and it manifested over my spiritual body?
Yeah.
I want to know how.
You have to chant more, you have to do another 10-15 years of service, then I'll give you this answer. Give the phone to somebody else. No, this is the answer. I gave you answer.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, initially you told how to burn our pain and pleasure. Both we are burning on the same thing, right?
How to?
Burn our pain and pleasure currency.
Yeah.
Both we are burning on the same thing, right? Like chanting is... So how the same thing is pain also and pleasure also?
It's not same thing. I told you,
Yeah.
body and mind
Yeah.
is doing tapas. And you take pleasure in your soul takes pleasure. So both are done. Because see, the Vegas are of where?
Body.
Of the body and the mind.
Yeah.
So when you take pleasure, when soul takes pleasure or pain, the body also takes pleasure and pain. Because body follows the soul. If the soul takes pain, it is not necessary the body mind takes pain, not necessary that the soul should take pain. You got a free will to take pleasure in pain of body and mind. Understand? जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय.